In a small, peaceful town surrounded by green hills and quiet streets, there lived a man named Jack Turner. Jack wasn't rich or famous, but he was known far and wide for two things: his incredible skill as a mechanic and his big heart. His garage, called Turner's Auto Fix, was more than just a place where cars were repaired. It was a hub of activity in the community. People from all over town would stop by not only to fix their vehicles but also to chat with Jack. Whether it was about car trouble or life problems, Jack always had a listening ear and wise advice. Jack had been running the garage for over 15 years. He inherited the business from his father, who taught him everything he knew about engines, brakes, and transmissions. But what set Jack apart wasn't just his technical expertise. It was his ability to connect with people. He didn't treat customers like numbers. He treated them like family. If someone couldn't afford repairs, Jack would often let them pay later, or even work off the cost by helping around the shop. This kindness earned him respect and admiration throughout the town. One sunny afternoon, as Jack was closing up the garage after a long day of work, something caught his attention. Across the street near the park, he noticed a little girl sitting in a wheelchair. She looked no older than 8, with bright, curious eyes that seemed to take in everything around her. Her hands gripped the wheels of her chair tightly, and she appeared deep in thought. Jack couldn't help but feel drawn to her. There was something special about the way she watched the world move, like she wanted to be part of it but felt held back somehow. Curiosity got the better of Jack, so he crossed the street to introduce himself. "Hi there," he said warmly, kneeling down to meet her at eye level. The girl looked up, surprised but not scared. "What's your name?" Jack asked gently. "Emily," she replied softly, her voice barely above a whisper. "Well, Emily, I'm Jack. What are you doing? Out here all by yourself?" Emily hesitated for a moment before answering. "I like watching the kids play," she said, pointing toward the playground, "and I like watching the cars go by. They look fun." Jack nodded thoughtfully. He glanced at the playground where children laughed and chased each other, then back at Emily. Something tugged at his heartstrings. He could tell she wanted to join in, to experience the same freedom and joy as the other kids, but her wheelchair made that impossible. Still, there was a spark in her eyes, a quiet determination that told Jack this little girl had dreams bigger than anyone might realize. Over the next few days, Jack found himself thinking about Emily often. He saw her again several times, always, in the same spot near the park. Sometimes she'd wave at him and he'd wave back. Other times she'd simply sit quietly, observing the world around her. One evening, as Jack worked late in the garage fixing an old truck, inspiration struck him like a bolt of lightning. "What if I built her a car?" he muttered to himself, staring at a pile of spare parts stacked in the corner. At first, the idea seemed crazy. After all, he wasn't a toy maker. He fixed real cars for adults. But the more he thought about it, the more excited he became. Why shouldn't Emily have a chance to drive? Sure, it wouldn't be a regular car, it would need to be smaller, safer, and specially designed for her needs, but it could still give her a taste of independence. It could show her that even though life had given her challenges, she could still chase her dreams. Jack knew it wouldn't be easy. Building a custom vehicle, especially one for a child with limited mobility, required careful planning and creativity. But Jack loved a challenge, and this project felt different. It wasn't just about mechanics anymore. It was about making a difference in someone's life. Determined to see his idea through, Jack began sketching designs on scraps of paper. During his lunch breaks, he envisioned a miniature car with hand controls instead of pedals, sturdy enough to handle outdoor terrain yet light enough for Emily to maneuver easily. As word of Jack's plan spread among his friends and neighbors, they rallied behind him. A local hardware store donated materials, while another friend offered to help with welding. Even Emily's parents, touched by Jack's generosity, gave their blessing and shared details about her specific needs. Slowly but surely, the pieces started coming together. Late nights turned into early mornings as Jack poured his heart and soul into the project, determined to create something truly special for Emily. Throughout this process, Jack kept thinking about how much impact such a simple act could have. To him, it was just a car, a collection of metal, wires, and wheels. But to Emily, it could mean so much more. It could mean freedom, confidence, and the knowledge that someone believed in her, and maybe, just maybe, it could inspire others to see the world differently too, to look beyond limitations and focus on possibilities. Little did Jack know, his decision to build a mini car for Emily would set off a chain reaction of events that would change not only her life but his own as well. For now, though, he remained focused on the task at hand, driven by the hope of seeing Emily's face light up when she took her very first ride. After deciding to build a mini car for Emily, Jack threw himself into the project with unmatched enthusiasm. Every free moment he had was spent in his garage, surrounded by tools, spare parts, and sketches of designs taped to the walls. The task ahead of him was daunting. He wasn't just building a toy. He was creating something functional, safe, and tailored specifically for a child with limited mobility. But Jack didn't see obstacles. He saw opportunities. Each challenge was another puzzle to solve, another way to make the car better. First step was figuring out how to adapt the controls so Emily could drive using her hands instead of her feet. Traditional cars rely on pedals for acceleration and braking, but that wouldn't work for Emily. Jack brainstormed ideas late into the night, sketching diagrams and testing concepts. He decided to install a joystick-like lever near the steering wheel, which would allow Emily to control both speed and direction with minimal effort. It was a clever solution, but implementing it required precision engineering, something Jack was more than capable of handling. As the days passed, word of Jack's project spread through the town. People were amazed by his dedication and ingenuity. One day, while Jack was welding a frame together, his friend Mike stopped by. Mike owned the local hardware store and had heard about what Jack was doing. "You need anything?" Mike asked, looking around at the cluttered workspace. Without hesitation, Jack listed off some items he needed: lightweight aluminum sheets, specialized screws, and a few other components. To his surprise, Mike offered them for free. "This is for Emily," Mike said with a grin. "Consider it my contribution." That small act of generosity sparked a chain reaction. Over the next week, neighbors began dropping off materials at the garage. Someone donated an old battery from their lawnmower, while another brought in a set of unused tires. Even kids from the neighborhood pitched in, collecting scraps of metal and plastic they found lying around. What started as Jack's personal mission quickly became a community effort. Everyone wanted to help bring Emily's dream to life. Despite the support, the project wasn't without its challenges. There were moments when things didn't go as planned. Once, after spending hours assembling the electrical system, Jack accidentally fried a crucial component. Frustrated but determined, he stayed up all night troubleshooting until he fixed the problem. Another time, the initial design for the hand controls proved too complicated for Emily's small hands. Jack scrapped the idea entirely and started over, ensuring the final version was intuitive and easy to use. These setbacks only fueled his resolve. He reminded himself why he was doing this: for Emily, who deserved nothing less than the best. To make the car extra special, Jack decided to add personal touches. He painted it a vibrant shade of red, knowing how much Emily loved bright colors. On the hood, he stenciled a lightning bolt design, symbolizing speed and energy. Inside, he installed soft padding on the seat for comfort and added a small horn that played cheerful tunes instead of a traditional honk. Every detail was carefully considered, from the sturdy roll bars for safety to the smooth, low-profile wheels that could handle grass and pavement alike. As the car took shape, excitement built not only in Jack's heart but also in the entire town. Neighbors would peek into the garage whenever they walked by, eager to see the progress. Some even offered suggestions or shared stories of their own experiences with adaptive devices. One elderly woman told Jack about her grandson, who used a wheelchair and loved remote-controlled cars. Her story inspired Jack to include a remote control feature in case Emily ever needed assistance while driving. It was these little interactions that made the project feel bigger than just one person. It was a testament to the power of community coming together for a good cause. Finally, after weeks of hard work, the mini car was ready. Jack stood back, wiping sweat from his brow, and admired his creation. It was perfect, a blend of functionality, creativity, and love. The car gleamed under the fluorescent lights of the garage, its red paint shining like a beacon of hope. Jack knew it was time to share it with Emily. He arranged for a surprise unveiling, inviting Emily and her family to the garage on a Saturday afternoon. As the day approached, Jack couldn't sleep. His mind raced with thoughts of how Emily would react. Would she like it? Would it meet her expectations? He pushed those doubts aside, reminding himself that this wasn't about perfection. It was about giving her a chance to experience something she'd always dreamed of. On the big day, the garage was filled with people. Friends, neighbors, and even strangers showed up to witness the moment. Balloons decorated the space, and a banner hung above the door read, "Emily's Dream Ride." When Emily arrived with her parents, her eyes widened in awe. She looked around at the crowd, confused but excited. Jack greeted her with a warm smile and led her inside. "Close your eyes," he instructed gently. Emily obeyed, her hands trembling. With anticipation, Jack guided her to the center of the room where the minicar sat covered with a cloth. With a dramatic flourish, he pulled the cover off, revealing the shiny red vehicle beneath. Gasps echoed through the room as everyone marveled at the sight. Emily opened her eyes, and for a moment, she was speechless. Then, slowly, a huge grin spread across her face. Is this for me?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Jack nodded, kneeling beside her. "It sure is," he replied. "Go ahead, take a look." Tentatively at first, Emily approached the car. Her fingers traced the lightning bolt on the hood, and her eyes lit up when she saw the personalized license plate that read, "Emily's Ride." Jack helped her climb into the driver's seat, showing her how to use the hand controls. Within minutes, she was steering the car around the parking lot, laughter bubbling out of her as she zipped past cheering spectators. Watching Emily drive for the first time was a moment Jack would never forget. Tears welled up in his eyes as he realized the impact of what he'd done. This wasn't just a car, it was freedom, confidence, and joy wrapped into one. For Emily, it was the beginning of a new chapter, one where she could chase her dreams, without limits. Little did Jack know, this heartwarming moment would soon attract attention far beyond the town. Pictures and videos of Emily's first ride went viral online, capturing the hearts of thousands. Among those touched by the story was someone unexpected, a man whose own life had been shaped by similar struggles. And within days, a sleek black limousine would pull up outside Turner's Auto Fix, setting the stage for an even greater journey. The day of the mini-car's unveiling was one that no one in the small town would soon forget. As Emily took her first ride around the parking lot, her laughter filled the air like music. The crowd erupted into cheers, clapping, and whistling as they watched the little girl zip past them with a huge grin on her face. For Emily, it wasn't just about driving. It was about feeling free, capable, and unstoppable for the very first time. Jack stood off to the side, his arms crossed, and a proud smile tugging at the corners of his mouth. He had imagined this moment countless times while working late nights in the garage, but seeing it unfold in real life was something entirely different. Watching Emily's joy made every ounce of effort worth it. Her parents were overcome with emotion, tears streaming down their faces as they snapped photos and videos. They hugged Jack tightly, thanking him over and over again for giving their daughter a gift she would cherish forever. As word spread about what Jack had done, people from all over town came to see the minicar for themselves. Neighbors brought snacks and drinks to celebrate, turning the event into an impromptu block party. Kids swarmed around Emily, asking if they could take turns riding in the car or simply marveling at its design. Even adults couldn't resist peeking under the hood or admiring the lightning bolt painted on the hood. It was clear that Jack's creation had captured not only Emily's heart, but also the hearts of everyone who saw it. What started as a local celebration didn't stay local for long. Someone posted a video of Emily's first drive on social media, and within hours, it went viral. Thousands of people watched the clip, commenting on how heartwarming and inspiring it was. News outlets picked up the story, dubbing Jack the mechanic with a heart of gold. Journalists called the garage, eager to interview him and learn more about his incredible project. At first, Jack was hesitant. He didn't do this for fame or recognition, but he agreed to speak because he wanted to shine a light on the importance of accessibility and inclusion. The media attention brought Emily into the spotlight too. She became a symbol of resilience and determination, proving that even when life throws challenges your way, there's always a way to overcome them. Reporters interviewed her parents, who spoke proudly about their daughter's courage and spirit. Emily herself appeared on a local news segment, shyly explaining how much the minicar meant to her. "It makes me feel like I can do anything," she said, clutching the steering wheel tightly. Those simple words resonated deeply with viewers, many of whom shared stories of their own struggles and triumphs in the comments section. Back in the town, life began to change for Jack and Emily in unexpected ways. Strangers started visiting. Turner's Auto Fix, not just to get their cars repaired, but to meet Jack and see the famous minicar in person. Some even drove hours out of their way just to shake his hand and thank him for inspiring them. Parents of children with disabilities reached out, asking for advice on how they could create similar solutions for their kids. Jack welcomed these conversations, sharing his knowledge freely and encouraging others to think creatively about solving problems. For Emily, having the mini car opened doors she never thought possible. She quickly became the star of the neighborhood, zipping around the park and showing off her driving skills to anyone who would watch. Other kids lined up to take rides with her, treating her like a celebrity. But more importantly, the car gave her a newfound sense of confidence. Before, she often felt left out during playtime, unable to join in activities that required running or climbing. Now she was leading the charge, organizing races and adventures with her friends. Her parents noticed a dramatic shift in her attitude. She was more outgoing, more willing to try new things, and less self-conscious about using her wheelchair. The minicar had given her not only mobility, but also a reminder that she was capable of achieving great things. One evening, as Emily sat in the driver's seat practicing her turns, she turned to Jack and asked, "Do you think I could race someday?" Jack chuckled, leaning against the garage door. "Why not?" he replied. "You've already proven you can do anything you set your mind to." His words stayed with her, fueling her imagination and dreams. As weeks passed, Jack continued to tweak and improve the minicar based on Emily's feedback. He added a rear-view mirror so she could check behind her while driving, installed brighter headlights for nighttime adventures, and even programmed the horn to play her favorite songs. Each modification made the car feel more personalized, more uniquely hers. It wasn't just a vehicle. It was a reflection of her personality, her strength, and her boundless potential. But the ripple effects of Jack's kindness extended far beyond Emily and the town. Online, people from all over the world were touched by the story. Messages poured in from families facing similar challenges, thanking Jack for reminding them that compassion and creativity could make a difference. Teachers used the story in classrooms to teach students about empathy and problem-solving. Engineers and designers were inspired to think outside the box, exploring ways to make everyday objects more accessible for people with disabilities. One message in particular stood out among the rest. It came from a man named Richard Langston, the CEO of a major automotive company. In his email, Richard expressed how deeply moved he was by Jack's gesture. He revealed that his own daughter had grown up with physical limitations, making him acutely aware of the barriers faced by individuals with disabilities. Richard praised Jack not only for his technical skill, but also for his unwavering commitment to helping others. He ended the email with an intriguing proposal. "I'd love to discuss how we can work together to bring your vision to a larger audience. Please let me know if you're open to meeting." At first, Jack dismissed the email as just another fan reaching out. But something about Richard's sincerity caught his attention. The idea of collaborating with a global company to expand his efforts intrigued him. Could he really take his passion for adaptive vehicles to the next level? Could he help not just one child, but thousands, or even millions of people around the world? Before he could respond, however, another surprise arrived at Turner's. Auto Fix. A sleek black limousine pulled up outside the garage, its shiny surface reflecting the sunlight. Curious townsfolk gathered around, whispering and speculating about who could be inside. When the door opened, a well-dressed man stepped out, introducing himself as none other than Richard Langston. The CEO had come in person to meet Jack and see the mini-car that had captured so many hearts. Richard's visit marked the beginning of a new chapter, one that would push Jack far beyond the confines of his small-town garage. But for now, Jack remained focused on the present, basking in the joy of knowing he had made a difference in Emily's life. As he watched her zoom around the parking lot, laughing and waving at her friends, he felt a deep sense of fulfillment. This was just the start of something extraordinary, a journey fueled by kindness, innovation, and the belief that even the smallest acts of generosity could spark monumental change. The sleek black limousine pulling up outside Turner's Auto Fix caused quite a stir in the small town. Neighbors who were passing by stopped to stare, their curiosity piqued by the unusual sight. A car like that didn't belong on these quiet streets. It was more suited for cityscapes or red carpet events. When the door opened and a sharply dressed man stepped out, whispers rippled through the crowd. Who was he? Why had he come here? Jack wiped his greasy hands on a rag and walked over, unsure of what to expect. The man introduced himself as Richard Langston, CEO of one of the largest automotive companies in the world. His presence alone commanded attention, but his demeanor was warm and approachable. "Mr. Turner," Richard said with a firm handshake, "I've been following your story and I have to say it's truly inspiring." Jack blinked in surprise. He wasn't used to being addressed so formally, especially not by someone wearing a tailored suit and polished shoes. "Call me Jack," he replied, trying to hide his nervousness. "What brings you all the way out here?" Richard smiled. "Your work, what you've done for Emily, is remarkable. It's not every day you meet someone who combines technical skill with such genuine compassion. I wanted to see it for myself." Word spread quickly about the mysterious visitor, and soon a small crowd gathered around the garage. Richard didn't seem bothered by the attention. In fact, he seemed to embrace it. He asked Jack to show him the mini-car that had captured the hearts of millions online. With Emily proudly seated behind the wheel, Jack demonstrated how the vehicle worked, the hand controls, the safety features, and the thoughtful personal touches that made it uniquely hers. As Richard examined the car, his admiration grew. "This is incredible," he said, running his fingers along the smooth paint job. "You've managed to create something functional, safe, and fun, all while keeping the user's needs in mind. This is exactly the kind of innovation we need in the industry." Jack scratched the back of his head, feeling a mix of pride and humility. "It's just something I thought Emily might enjoy," he said modestly. "I never imagined it would turn into anything bigger than that." "Well, it has," Richard replied firmly, "and I think there's potential to take this idea even further. Imagine if we could bring adaptive vehicles like this to people all over the world. Not just kids, but adults too. Anyone who faces mobility challenges." The suggestion caught Jack off guard. Until now, his focus had been entirely on Emily and his community. Expanding his vision globally felt overwhelming, but also exciting. Could he really make a difference on such a large scale? Before he could respond, Richard pulled an envelope from his jacket pocket and handed it to Jack. Inside were tickets to an exclusive auto show happening in the city later that month. "I'd like you to attend as my guest," Richard explained. "It's an opportunity for you to see the latest advancements in automotive technology, and maybe share some ideas of your own. We're hosting a panel discussion on accessibility, and I'd be honored if you'd join us." Jack hesitated. He wasn't used to traveling or speaking in front of crowds, let alone standing alongside industry leaders. But Richard's enthusiasm was contagious. "I'll think about it," Jack promised, tucking the tickets into his pocket. Over the next few days, Jack found himself reflecting on Richard's proposal. The idea of collaborating with a major company to design adaptive vehicles was daunting, but it also sparked a fire in him. He thought about all the families he'd heard from since Emily's story went viral, parents desperate for solutions, children yearning for independence. If he could help even a fraction of those people, wouldn't it be worth stepping out of his comfort zone? Meanwhile, Emily continued to thrive with her new mini car. She practiced driving every chance she got, mastering sharp turns and navigating obstacles with ease. Her confidence soared, and she began dreaming bigger. One afternoon, as she sat in the garage watching Jack tinker with another project, she turned to him and asked, "Do you think I could drive a real car someday?" Jack paused, considering the question. "Why not?" he replied with a grin. "If you keep working hard and believing in yourself, there's no limit to what you can achieve." Her eyes lit up at the possibility, and Jack realized that his work wasn't just about building cars, it was about empowering people to dream beyond their circumstances. That realization strengthened his resolve to explore Richard's offer. When the day of the auto show arrived, Jack packed his bags and headed to the city, accompanied by Emily and her parents. The event was held in a massive convention center, filled with gleaming vehicles, cutting-edge gadgets, and throngs of attendees buzzing with excitement. For Jack, it was like stepping into another world, one where innovation knew no bounds. Richard greeted them warmly and gave them a VIP tour of the exhibits. Jack marveled at the futuristic designs and advanced technologies on display. But what struck him most were the booths dedicated to accessibility. Companies showcased prototypes of wheelchairs that climbed stairs, apps that guided visually impaired drivers, and vehicles equipped with voice-activated controls. It was clear that the industry was beginning to recognize the importance of inclusivity, but there was still so much room for improvement. During the panel discussion, Jack shared his story with hundreds of listeners. He talked about Emily, the challenges she faced, and how the mini car had transformed her life. He emphasized the value of empathy in engineering, urging designers to prioritize the needs of users above all else. His words resonated deeply with the audience, earning him a standing ovation. Afterward, Richard approached Jack with a proposal. "We want to partner with you," he said. "Together, we can develop a line of adaptive vehicles inspired by your work. You'll have access to our resources, engineers, and designers, everything you need to bring your ideas to life on a global scale." For a moment, Jack was speechless. The magnitude of the opportunity hit him like a wave. This wasn't just about continuing his passion. It was about creating lasting change. He glanced at Emily, who was grinning ear to ear, clearly thrilled by the prospect. Finally, Jack nodded. "Let's do it," he said. As they shook hands, Jack felt a surge of excitement mixed with responsibility. He knew the road ahead wouldn't be easy. There would be challenges, setbacks, and tough decisions, but he also knew he wasn't alone. With Richard's support, Emily's inspiration, and the backing of a global company, he was ready to embark on this next chapter. What started as a simple act of kindness in a small-town garage was about to become a movement that could touch lives around the world. The collaboration between Jack and Richard's automotive company marked the beginning of a journey that would take Jack far beyond the familiar walls of his garage. At first, the transition felt overwhelming. Jack had spent years working alone, relying on his instincts and hands-on experience to solve problems. Now he found himself surrounded by teams of engineers, designers, and researchers, all experts in their fields. The scale of the operation was massive, with state-of-the-art labs, testing facilities, and endless resources at his disposal. It was a world unlike anything Jack had ever known, but it was also an opportunity to bring his vision to life in ways he'd never imagined. Richard wasted no time introducing Jack to the team. They gathered in a sleek conference room filled with blueprints, computer screens displaying 3D models, and whiteboards covered in technical jargon. Jack listened intently as they discussed concepts like ergonomic design, adaptive interfaces, and autonomous driving systems. While some of the terminology went over his head, Jack didn't let it intimidate him. Instead, he focused on what he knew best: people. Every decision, every prototype, every feature, they all had to serve a purpose. "We're not just building machines," Jack reminded the group during one meeting. "We're building freedom." His words resonated deeply with the team. Many of them had been inspired by Jack's story and Emily's journey. They understood that this project wasn't about profit margins or market trends. It was about making a difference in the lives of individuals who faced daily challenges due to mobility limitations. With renewed determination, the team began brainstorming ideas for adaptive vehicles that could cater to a wide range of needs. From compact cars designed for children like Emily to modified trucks for adults with disabilities, the possibilities seemed endless. One of the first projects Jack worked on was a line of customizable hand-controlled vehicles. Drawing inspiration from the mini car he built for Emily, he collaborated with engineers to develop intuitive joystick systems that could replace traditional pedals. These controls were adjustable, allowing users to tailor them to their specific abilities. Safety features were also prioritized, including automatic braking systems, collision avoidance technology, and reinforced frames. But perhaps the most innovative aspect was the modular design. Each vehicle could be easily upgraded or modified as the user's needs changed over time. As prototypes took shape, Jack traveled across the country to test them with real users. He visited rehabilitation centers, schools, and community organizations, seeking feedback from people who would benefit most from these innovations. Their input was invaluable. A teenager with spinal cord injuries suggested adding voice-activated navigation to make driving easier. A mother of twins requested extra storage space for her wheelchair and strollers. An elderly man proposed lowering the entry point of the vehicle so he wouldn't have to climb steps to get inside. Each suggestion helped refine the designs, ensuring the final products were practical, functional, and user-friendly. Word of Jack's efforts spread quickly, earning him invitations to speak at conferences and events around the world. At first, public speaking made him nervous. He wasn't used to addressing large crowds, but he soon discovered that sharing stories was something he excelled at. Whether it was talking about Emily's first drive or recounting conversations with families he'd met along the way, Jack had a knack for connecting with audiences. His speeches weren't polished or rehearsed. They were raw, heartfelt, and authentic. People walked away feeling inspired, motivated to think differently about accessibility and inclusion. Emily became an integral part of Jack's advocacy work. Now a confident preteen, she accompanied him to many events, using her own experiences to highlight the importance of adaptive solutions. During one presentation, she stood beside Jack and said, "Before I got my mini car, I thought I couldn't do things other kids could, but now I know I can. I just needed the right tools to help me." Her words brought tears to the eyes of many attendees, reinforcing the message that everyone deserves a chance to live life to the fullest. The impact of Jack's work extended far beyond the automotive industry. Schools began incorporating lessons about accessibility and innovation into their curriculums, using Jack's story as a case study. Engineers and designers started rethinking how everyday objects could be adapted for people with disabilities. Even toy manufacturers reached out, asking for advice on creating inclusive playthings for children. What began as a single act of our kindness had sparked a cultural shift, a movement toward greater empathy and understanding. Back in the small town, Turner's Auto Fix continued to thrive. Though Jack spent much of his time traveling and collaborating with the automotive company, he always returned home to his roots. The garage remained a hub of activity, where neighbors still stopped by to chat or ask for repairs. Jack ensured that a portion of the proceeds from the adaptive vehicle line went back into the community, funding scholarships for local students interested in engineering and mechanics. He also established a program to teach kids basic repair skills, encouraging them to pursue careers in trades. For Emily, life had transformed in remarkable ways. She no longer saw herself as someone limited by her condition. Instead, she viewed herself as a trailblazer, paving the way for others like her. With Jack's guidance, she learned more about adaptive technologies and even started dreaming of becoming an inventor someday. Together, they envisioned a future where barriers were broken down, not just in transportation, but in every aspect of life. As months turned into years, Jack's partnership with the automotive company yielded groundbreaking results. The line of adaptive vehicles hit the market to widespread acclaim, receiving awards for innovation and social impact. Families who once struggled to find affordable, reliable options now had access to cutting-edge solutions tailored specifically to their needs. Testimonials poured in from grateful customers, each one a testament to the power of compassion and creativity. Through it all, Jack stayed true to himself. Despite the fame and recognition, he remained humble, always prioritizing people over profit. In interviews, he often credited Emily and the community for inspiring him to take risks and dream big. "This isn't my story," he would say. "It's ours. We built this together." And while Jack's achievements were celebrated globally, nothing compared to the quiet moments he cherished back home. Watching Emily zip around the park in her mini car, now slightly upgraded with new features, reminded him why he started this journey in the first place. It wasn't about changing the world. It was about changing lives, one small step at a time. Years had passed since Jack first decided to build a mini car for Emily, but the ripple effects of that decision continued to shape lives in profound ways. Turner's Auto Fix was no longer just a small-town garage. It had grown into a center for innovation and inclusivity. The once cluttered workspace now housed advanced tools and equipment donated by Richard's Automotive Company, allowing Jack to experiment with new ideas and refine existing designs. Yet despite its transformation, the heart of the garage remained unchanged. It was still a place where people gathered to share stories, seek advice, and find solutions to their problems. Jack's partnership with the automotive company had blossomed into something far greater than either of them could have imagined. Together they launched an entire division dedicated to adaptive vehicles, aptly named Freedom Drive. This initiative not only produced innovative cars and mobility aids, but also funded research into emerging technologies like autonomous wheelchairs and smart prosthetics. The mission was simple yet powerful: to empower individuals with disabilities to live life without limits. And at the core of it all was Jack's guiding philosophy, that true innovation begins with empathy. Emily, now a teenager, had grown into a confident and outspoken advocate for accessibility rights. She traveled alongside Jack to conferences, schools, and community events, sharing her story with audiences around the world. Her presence was magnetic. She spoke with such authenticity and passion that listeners couldn't help but be moved. "When I was younger, I thought my wheelchair defined me," she often said during her speeches. "But thanks to people like Jack and because of opportunities I never thought possible, I've learned that I'm capable of so much more." Her words inspired countless others to rethink their own limitations. Parents wrote letters thanking her for giving them hope. Teachers used her story to encourage students to embrace challenges rather than shy away from them. Even engineers cited her as a muse, reminding themselves to design with real people in mind. Emily had become more than just a symbol of resilience. She was a catalyst for change, proving that one person's courage could spark a movement. Back in the town, the community rallied around Jack and Emily, celebrating their success while continuing to support their mission. Local businesses hosted fundraisers to raise money for adaptive sports programs and scholarships. Schools invited Jack and Emily to speak at assemblies, teaching students about the importance of kindness, creativity, and perseverance. Kids who once watched Emily zoom around the park in her mini car were now building their own inventions, encouraged by Jack's belief that anyone could make a difference if they put their mind to it. The mini car itself became a cherished artifact, displayed prominently in the garage alongside photos and memorabilia from Jack and Emily's journey. Visitors from all over the world stopped by to see it, marveling at how something so small had ignited such a monumental shift in thinking. For Jack, it served as a constant reminder of where it all began, a quiet moment of compassion that grew into a global effort to create a more inclusive world. As time went on, Jack's influence extended beyond the automotive industry. He collaborated with architects to design accessible homes and public spaces, consulted with tech companies to develop voice-activated devices, and even partnered with fashion designers to create adaptive clothing. Each project reinforced his belief that accessibility wasn't just about physical mobility, it was about removing barriers in every aspect of life. Whether it was helping someone navigate a crowded street or ensuring a child could play alongside their peers, Jack approached every challenge with the same determination and care. Despite his growing responsibilities, Jack made it a point to stay grounded. Every evening, after long days filled with meetings, presentations, and brainstorming sessions, he returned to the garage to tinker with projects or chat with neighbors. These moments kept him connected to the community that had supported him from the start. He often reflected on how far he'd come, not just professionally but personally. Building the mini car for Emily had taught him that even the smallest acts of kindness could have a lasting impact. It had reminded him of the power of human connection and the importance of seeing the world through someone else's eyes. One day, as Jack stood in the garage watching Emily test drive a newly upgraded version of her mini car, he felt a deep sense of fulfillment wash over him. She was older now, taller, and more skilled behind the wheel, but the joy on her face was as pure as it had been the very first time she drove. "What do you think?" Jack asked, gesturing toward the car's sleek new features. "It's perfect," Emily replied, grinning. "Just like the first one." Her words struck a chord with Jack. No matter how advanced technology became, no matter how many awards or accolades he received, the essence of what he did remained the same. It was about creating moments of joy, empowering people to chase their dreams and showing them that they were valued members of society. That was the legacy he wanted to leave behind. Not fame or fortune, but a world where everyone had the opportunity to thrive. In the years that followed, Jack's work earned him numerous honors. He was invited to prestigious ceremonies, featured in documentaries, and awarded honorary degrees from universities. But none of those achievements meant as much to him as the handwritten notes he received from families whose lives had been touched by his efforts. One letter in particular stood out among the rest. It was from a young boy who had recently received an adaptive bike inspired by Jack's designs. "Thank you for making me feel normal," the boy wrote. "I can ride with my friends now." Those simple words encapsulated everything Jack had worked toward. Normalcy wasn't about fitting into a mold. It was about having the freedom to participate fully in life, regardless of physical ability. It was about leveling the playing field and ensuring that everyone had a seat at the table. And though Jack knew there was still much work to be done, he took comfort in knowing that he had sparked a chain reaction, one that would continue long after he was gone. As Jack looked around the garage, now bustling with activity, he smiled. The walls were covered with photos, awards, and sketches of ideas yet to come. In the corner sat the original mini car, its red paint slightly faded, but its spirit as vibrant as ever. On the wall above it hung a framed quote that Jack often repeated: "Sometimes all it takes is one small step or one small car to make someone's world bigger." And in that moment, surrounded by the people and projects that had defined his life, Jack realized that his journey wasn't just about building vehicles. It was about building bridges between communities, between industries, and most importantly, between hearts. It was about proving that when we choose kindness, creativity, and collaboration, anything is possible. For Jack Turner, the mechanic with a heart of gold, the road ahead was endless. But he wouldn't have it any other way.